Well, I think it's time for me to try out this saw, but also to try to get back into the swing of things a little bit. So I'm going to go run this and find some beech trees to take down. I also brought that saw here, and maybe we get a chance if I get some trees down where we can do some time comparisons. I can't do a whole lot today. I got to be a little bit careful, but I think I can put the chaps on and go out in the woods and take down some beech trees and maybe block them up slowly. So I'll probably end up going out there with the camera, picking my way slowly through the work, and then when I actually do my video, I'll kick it up to like 1.5 times and I'll look like a normal human being. How's that? I mixed up some gas for the boat. Well, I also mixed up some gas for the saw. I didn't have any bar oil, so I had to go run down to the Tractor Supply and get some of this stuff. I don't know if it's any good or not, but it was there and cheap. I bought myself a present. You know, I used to really like the leather gloves that Husky sold. I haven't seen them around for a while. Technically, I have a 20-pound limit, right? And I'm not supposed to bend over too much. There's a, I guess, a restriction on my how much of an angle I bring my leg to. And see if these fit first before I get crazy here. Yeah, they'll work fine. That's not 25 pounds, so what it does mean is I can't carry a lot of tools. So I'm just going to carry the saw. When it runs out of bar oil or gasoline, I'm just going to have to come back to the truck. You know, it has a little bit of goofiness going on, but pretty much every one of these I've ever done has. So that's not unusual to me to find some things I got to sort through. I'm not sure the tank vent is working properly because I hear a lot of wheezing down there when I turn the saw off. Not sure if it's the tank vent or something else. And it seems like I've had to go fairly far out with the adjusters on the carburetor on the top end. And that might be consistent with a tank vent issue as well. But since I haven't run it in a cut long enough for it to, you know, actually need to have that fuel supply, I really don't know if I've got a problem or not. That's what we're going to find out. That's what this whole process is about, taking these things and bringing them out and testing them. So let me get my stuff on, and then I'll carry this stuff into the woods and see if I can't find a beech tree or two, because I want to get rid of all that beech anyway. Probably a good idea to see if it starts. So let's just do a cold start on this thing and see what we have when we get out there. Alright, that sounds good. I've got a whole bunch of beech down that section there that I'd like to drop, and most of it's just going to be firewood, you know, but some of it's big enough to be logs. All that stuff in there needs to go. And it may be that I've got to take some small ones in order to get the bigger ones. Well, there's a bigger one right there. Let me see. I think I'm going to take down some of the ones downstream and then drop that right down to the trail. And I think that's actually big enough to be a test log. So Here goes nothing. Well, it runs. I just don't think it's running right. It's got some kind of a carburation issue. And either those adjusters are adjusting themselves, or it's found a way to go lean and keep getting lean. So I'm not really happy with the way it runs right now. But isn't that how this all works out? The same as the old 660s at the beginning. Had to work all the way through those carburation issues and all kinds of stuff. But as a saw to operate, it's not bad. You know, you figure for a $300 saw, that thing there is kick-ass. I mean, the good news is the saw definitely responds to the adjusters. The bad news is I've had to go in and out of it now a couple times. So, and I don't know why. This is what I'm not supposed to be doing. Half, one, half, two. So it's out 2 turns. Half, one, half, 2. Let's leave it there. Now, how do you like that? Well, this is pretty much typical kit saw. You know, it's really not doing that good right out of the box. Runs, you know. When I got the mixture where it's happy, the thing actually has good power. But then it tends to go lean. It acts, to me, like it has a tank venting issue. But I'm really not one of these, I'm not an expert on this particular saw. Not yet. The 660s, I got to the point where I was pretty good about figuring out what was going on. But I just simply don't know this series of saw. Let me fill this thing up with gas. Oil. That tree took a half tank. Used a half a tank of bar oil too, so at least the tank, the gas tank and the bar oil tank are in sync. That's good news. Yeah, my leg ache's pretty bad. But I need to know. So let me just go put a little more time on it. And if this doesn't make any difference, which I doubt it will, I'll be honest with you, then we have to go up and... But you know, I remember with the 360, this one right here, I went through a similar series of trials and tribulations, and I tore it apart, put it back together, and I never really did figure out why it all of a sudden started running better. It just did. And it has nothing to do with braking, I don't think, but it might have to do with the carb and the carb diaphragms getting flexible and things like that. That's possible. Maybe just a matter of picking up compression to make it run better. Because low compression would give you the symptoms of running lean too, wouldn't it? But it doesn't feel like it's got low compression. It just feels like it runs lean. You know, I never really did get that one where it was right, because the linkage on that one right there never was right. So both these little ones have had some nagging issues that never went away. So, but this one has promise. There's no doubt that it's a zippy little saw when it gets into that sweet spot where it has fuel to run. You know, there's no doubt that there's some potential in that saw. Alright, beginning to act like a saw. So I really don't know why, but this is a characteristic I've seen in a couple of the kit saws, where the first tank or so it just runs like crap. And then it begins to wake up. And that's what this one appears to be doing. It's running a lot better now than it did that first tree. And I don't know if I'm stable with the carburetor settings just yet. We'll see. Let me just chat about it for a second, because that's really not a bad saw to run. It's a nice size. It doesn't vibrate as bad as you'd think for a kit saw. And it's beginning to actually develop some serious power, you know, for a 60cc saw. It runs the way that saw should run, to be honest with you. Just a little finicky on the carburetor. I'm not happy with that just yet. We'll just see how that develops over time. You know, maybe I have to go do some OEM parts on this saw. Now here's the interesting thing. To this point in time, I have not swapped out any parts. This is exactly the parts that came in that box. You know what I'm saying? I think that is an absolute first for me. Well, there's one exception. I broke the chain brake handle, so I have another one of those on there. Things like the crank and the bearings and the seals and the top end, the piston. I had to do some file work on that piston, but for the most part, basically the parts that came out of that box have been massaged into a saw that you're watching right now. And like I said, it's actually a pretty snappy little saw. I'd say it has more power than the 036 or 360 kit saw. Pretty much, definitely more power than that saw. It has the same funny characteristics. I don't know if you remember when I had done those videos where it took a couple of tanks before that saw actually settled out to run in a stable way. Now this is the thing I don't understand, because the compression's there, it's not the compression. I really don't have any idea what changes over time. And the other thing I don't understand is what the tank vent process is, because somehow I think it's interrelated. It still runs a little bit lean. My hunch is I'll let it sit there for a couple of minutes, you know, and all the vacuum and pressure pulls the fuel around, and when I first fire it up, it's going to be rich as the son of a gun. So really that's the only thing I have to overcome in my mind, because when it does get the fuel, when the mixture is right, it's strong. It's actually quite strong saw for what it is. Definitely has potential. I like that one, you know. I complained about it being a little bit klutzy because that's what it is, but my opinion at this point in time, it's going to be worth the debug, and it's also worth the hassle for money spent and time spent, because that's a very useful saw configuration. That size, that power, that weight, you know, so on and so forth for firewood. That's actually a useful saw right there. I like it. I can't tell you how much fun it is to get back out here in the woods. I'm loving it, to be honest. But the pain factor is beginning to creep into the picture, so I need to get up and maybe I'll put together the short video before I do the debug on the saw, make it a 3-part series instead of a normal 2-part. But I need to get up and get set down, actually lay down, and I can feel my leg begin to swell up. So I hope I didn't overdo it. I had a lot of fun. I like doing this stuff. You have no idea. This is so refreshing to get out here again. I think that's a log right there. You know that? If nothing else, that'll be a great test log because it's so freaking hard. But I need to get back up to the house. Talk to you later. Bye for now.